right, welcome to the Free Outside Show. When this comes out, I will be running Cocodona 250, but here's my race plan. Let's get into it. So it's going to be colder at Cocodona, so that's going to really change a lot of things. I don't think people are factoring in the weather as much as I am, I guess. So this is basically the weather that I train in. The high is probably going to top out in the 70s, probably low 70s, and it might rain. And so I'm just thinking about it as if I'm going on a run in Yellowstone, which actually makes it really nice for me. But the people that live in Arizona and Southern California, it's going to present some challenges. So let's get into how I'm attacking it. I'm going to let myself go out more aggressive than I would in the past because I'm not worried about the heat compounding the effects of pushing hard uphill, because you gain about 10 to 11,000 feet in that first 33 miles. I'm going to let myself go for it. Lane Mountain's at mile 32-ish, and I'm just going to let myself go, try to stay up there with the leaders. And since I've kind of nailed salt this year and nutrition, or at least sodium, I think that that's going to really help me stay up there and feel good. And then as it gets colder, I think this is going to play to my advantage. So it's like if I'm within striking distance or up there with the front, then once it gets cooler, it's going to be cooler for the rest of the race. It's going to be cold, and I'm just going to keep pushing effort level, stay up there. So this is what I'm going to do first. I've kind of dissected and visualized the course. So I'm going to try to name all of the aid stations in order and prove how in tune I am with the race. This is going to be a fun episode. It's just coming out while I'm out there running. I'll get into a little bit more strategy here in a second, but here we go. I'm going to try to name everything. I'm going to close my eyes if you're watching. This is on YouTube, and you can stream it on Spotify too. Okay. Deep Canyon Ranch, Cottonwood. There's 2 water stations, Lane Mountain, Crown King, Arastra Creek, Camp Kippa, and then Wamatochich, Whiskey Row, Iron King, Fain Ranch, Mingus Mountain, Jerome, Dead Horse, Deer Pass. I think there's a water station before Sedona, so that, and then Sedona. And then this one has changed. It's Foxborough Ranch now. Then you can't have a pacer, I believe. And then Munns Park. And then from Munns Park, I think you have Kelly Canyon, Fort Tuthill, Walnut Canyon. You can't have a pacer from Tuthill to Walnut, and then Wildcat Hill. And then this one's tricky because it's all changed. I think it's called Trinity something. Trinity Hill, Trinity Heights, Trinity H something. I can see it in my mind, but I can only see the H. And then the finish line. All right, so we're ready to go. But my strategy, I only have 2 pacers. One of my pacers broke his leg. I think I might have someone to fill in, but if you're able to fill in, reach out to me, I guess. Find my crew somehow. I have 2 sections that I haven't quite filled in who's going to pace from Dead Horse to Deer Pass and from Walnut Canyon to Wildcat Hill. But we're going to figure it out. So my strategy, get up to Crown King a little bit more aggressively than usual, and then keep a really good running pace. And I'm hoping that I'm in sort of that top 5 to 10 people. I think every single year there's about 5 people who go out a little bit hard and they fall back. But I suspect it's going to be hopefully me. Courtney will probably be up there. Let's see. I think Dan Green will be up there. I think he's going to try to go out really hard. I think he's going to be one of those people that comes back to earth. He might have a pretty commanding lead, probably 30 minutes or so at Camp Kippa, I would guess. Who else? I think Max Jalif will be up there. Harry will be up there. And I think it's just going to be this pretty good group that is kind of moving together because it is such a long race and the cooler temperatures. There's going to be less external factors. So I'm predicting a group of 5 or so, and maybe 2 different groups of 5 within 40 minutes of each other going into Whiskey Row. And this is when things will really start, because a lot of people like Mike McKnight is not even using pacers. People have different pacing strategies and sleep strategies. And one that's been somewhat common over the last couple of years for the front of the course or the front of the field is that people will sleep early on. So that'll be interesting just to see if people will sleep on night 1, how that'll impact things. My strategy is to push through night 1 and night 2 and finish before night on day 3. So from the John Muir Trail, I've learned that I can make it's not comfortable, but for me, comfortably through 2 nights of skipping sleep, as long as I'm taking care of myself. And that's going to be the plan. I'm going to consume about 78 grams of carbs an hour for the first 24 hours. And then I'm going to supplement and move into a little bit more real food with like a whole macro, thinking of it on the macro level of the nutrients and protein carb combo with some fat in there too, because my heart rate will likely be a lot lower once I'm in that second phase of the race. So I think of this race in 3 phases. You have to Whiskey Row, and then you have a pacer, and then you have to Munns Park, and then Munns Park to the end. And sort of how I see that is each section has one big hill. For the most part, I don't know, Mingus has never felt like this huge hill to me, but I guess to some people it is. So the first big hill up to Crown King, massive hill, like 11,000 feet of climbing. I'd say more of a mountain than an actual hill. The second big hill, I mean, it continues to climb, but past Crown King, it just doesn't quite feel the same as the climbing you've done. But the second hill that I think about is the climb from Cocodona up to Munns Park. It's just pretty consistent. This time we're on the hangover trail. The footing's tough, the slick rock. And so this is where I think I'm going to do really well. So I'm good at moving on that type of terrain. I'm very versed in self-sufficiency coming from that, and I'm going to have a pacer. So what I'm going to do is offload the duties of navigation, because it is hard through that section. I'm going to offload that onto my pacer, and then I'm going to work on just fueling, moving forward. And that's going to be my strategy. I'm going to hopefully get to, let me think. I've sort of memorized my spreadsheet, but as far as Munns Park, I'm hoping to get there around midnight. And so that's where the fun's really going to start, because I'm going to be tired. But if I can just get till that next morning, I should be able to push and finish around 4 p.m. that coming day, or a little bit sooner. I think the big thing that a lot of people aren't factoring in, especially having just run most of the course down there, is it's a lot more technical than past years. So it's actually a slower course. People are, just like, it's faster every single year. But they've added in about 10 miles of course that is way more technical than the course that it's replacing. And they're also adding in about 30 miles where you can't have pacers. So this is 23 miles to be exact, I believe. But actually, maybe a little more. It doesn't matter. But this is a big 30 miles, 32 miles, we're going to call it. But this is a big thing that I don't think people are factoring in, is if you have really experienced crew and pacers, they can get you through anything and you can kind of stay awake and work with it. But it goes from a supported race to self-supported for those sections. Like Munns Park, you have Foxborough Ranch to Munns Park, which is like 15 plus miles, where you're going to suddenly not have a pacer. So you have to be self-reliant on yourself. And I'm expecting to get to Foxborough Ranch and give up my pacer right about dark. So I'm going to have 3 hours in the dark by myself, and I got to be relying on myself, have a good light source, be really attentive to even the minute turns. It's mostly on a road there, but don't want to make any wrong turns. And then I get a pacer again. And then that next day, probably around 5 a.m., I should get to Fort Hut Hill for 4 hours. I've factored in I'm going to be alone going through Walnut Canyon through Walnut Canyon to get to the Walnut Canyon aid station. And that's going to be huge, because people could lose 10 minutes a mile if they're really just zombie walking for someone who's running at a 10-minute pace. So those are the 2 key spots for me on the course. And so we're going to see how they go. The goal is to just fuel consistently, hit my salt perfectly, hydrate even though it's going to be cold, and just keep moving forward and lean on crew and pacers a lot more than the past. I've had issues in the past of, I come from this self-supported world, so I'm not always good at giving people tasks or leaning on them to help me with certain things involved in the race. So this is the year where I offload everything I can to my aunt, who's going to be crewing, Jameson and Jeff Pelletier, who are going to be pacing me. And that's how we're going to do it. That's how we're going to conquer this thing. Hopefully standing there victorious at the end, somewhere around, I think 58 hours, 58, 59 hours is going to win it, but we will see. I just think it's going to be slower because of the cold and the technicality. But it's a good field. It's a very even field on the men's side. And then I think Courtney is even with those front running men on that side. So that's my Cocodona plan. I hope that it is going according to plan. And let me just open up some splits here. This is when I expect to get certain places. I'm hoping to get to Whiskey Row around 9 p.m. I don't know when I'm going to release this. I think I'm going to release this maybe on Monday, 6 a.m. race time. Okay. Let's see. We're going to go Whiskey Row, 9 p.m. is going to be what I'm aiming for. Get to Dead Horse, or let's do Jerome at 8 a.m. And that'll be about the halfway point. And then I'm going to hopefully get to let's see, Sedona at 4:17 p.m. That's the plan. Fort Tuthill at 5 a.m. and then wrap this thing up at 4 p.m. So we'll see if I can stick to those numbers. But if not, well, and even if I do, stay elite, my friends. Bonus episode. I've done over 100. I've done 106 of these, or I think 107 maybe. But I started this last year during Cocodona. I put out my first one because I was too scared for whatever the blowback and what people would say about having a podcast. And I'll tell you, a year in, people have been very kind. Of course, there's a bunch of mean comments, but I'm very used to that in the world. People haven't always been super nice to me because I'm a weirdo, but I get it. I know everything. I can read minds. Don't worry. And I started this just to learn to talk better. Talking always feels like it takes a insane amount of effort to convey things. And I thought, what better way to get better at conversing, talking, interviewing people, knowing people in the sport that I feel like I kind of belong in, at least, whether it's through hiking, FKTs, or trail running, was to actually start doing it. So I dove headfirst in, made myself do it. Here I am, and I feel like I've made progress. I mean, all the downloads and sponsors and monetizing this and getting bigger is really awesome, but I think the bigger thing is feeling confident having conversations with people, and it's baby steps. I'm still not very good. Sometimes I stumble over my words and forget things or have a hard time with stuff. I usually have to write a full page of notes, even if I know the person, just to have talking points, because my mind will short circuit, basically, it feels like, because I'm much more of a in my mind type of person than outside of my mind. But all that is to say, thank you guys for being out there. Thanks John G and Garage Your Own Gear for sponsoring this and giving this thing a chance to grow. And if you guys want to share this podcast with your friends, family, coworkers, your sworn nemesis and enemy, that'd be awesome, because we're just looking for more numbers. All right. Thanks, guys, and hopefully Cocodona is going well for me. It's so weird to record now because you'll be listening to this at a different time in the future. Stay elite, my friends.